never rests.
Counting careless in the sky. What a thrilling time to be alive.
What is up, everybody? It is the Georgia Show. I'm Jake Rowe. He's Rusty Mansell, and we're from DawgsHQ. And listen, we got a lot to talk about, man. This is the beginning of week 2. We talked to Kirby today. We saw some practice today, Rusty. Georgia is always recruiting, all the time, all day, every day, recruiting, and we're going to get into that too. But Rusty, week 2 of spring practice, interested just kind of, this to me is almost like like Friday at a non-major golf tournament. It's like week 2. Nobody remembers week 2. Nobody remembers, as I said in the wire, nobody remembers a 40-degree day.
Yeah.
Where are you getting to in this second week? You just overall, where as a program are you looking to be kind of in week 2 of spring practice?
Well, that's a great question. I had someone in our network that's doing a national piece on Georgia, so I won't give too much. DGD podcast, I got you something in the mail today. Someone's doing a national piece on Georgia and kind of hit me up for some questions, and I said, listen, Georgia 1 through 85 is just about as good as anybody in the country. So they have pieces of the puzzle and positions like everybody else they need to fill. But, I think the quick initial like week 2 vibe is something that, we continue to write about for our DawgsHQ subscribers, something that you heard, something that I heard. And man, Coley Young, now he's had an ankle, so
he's banged up.
Imagine that.
He's out there moving around. He's day to day.
But like when Coley Young, and to be honest with you, I didn't know enough about him, and I don't know that everybody did know enough about him, but I'll tell you, he sounds like he has announced his presence with some authority. He is a 6'4.5", 6'5" wide receiver, and I tell you, man, if you want to say, hey, you're going to lose Brock Bowers, but we're going to give you a very talented. The portal's going to give you a very talented 6'5" wide receiver.
Yeah.
The football guides. Now I'm not saying he's Brock Bowers or he's going to replace Brock Bowers, but if you're going to have to distribute the ball to more pieces, you get a guy like Coley Young in there, and man, it sounds like he's had a very, very good introduction in that locker room and what he's doing on the field.
Yeah. You hit me up on Saturday and you said, hey, I'm hearing that Coley Young had a day today. I didn't really hear anything myself until probably Sunday. When I asked about him specifically, like, oh yeah, I mean, you should have saw the catch he made in the back of the end zone. Listen, I'm always Matt Landers ended up being a good player in college. He ended up having a good career at Arkansas and did some good things. Matt Landers is always going to have me gun shy about big Georgia wide receivers at practice. Okay. But with that said, I mean, we've seen
Matt Landers was hell in August now.
Yeah.
I mean,
the man with the plan.
One of my best sources is not a Georgia, didn't work in the athletic department, but he had the pulse of what was going on. And 2 August in a row, he came out and Matt Landers. I've never seen anything like it. This guy's he's mossing people and making plays, and it certainly didn't translate. So that's a damn good point.
Well, he came out in game 1 year and actually had a pretty good game, did some good stuff on special teams. And I remember just asking Kirby about it. I was like, hey man, Matt Landers, he's had some rocky times here since arriving at Georgia. What's it like to kind of see him go out there and Kirby was like, man, that was so good to see Matt, and he's worked and then he kind of disappeared. And I'm really happy for him that he ended up having a pretty good career.
He did.
And that was one of my things about James Coley when James Coley came in is, that wasn't a missed eval. He was obviously good enough to play at a high level in this league. There was just something about the way things were going for him at Georgia, confidence or needed a new voice or a change of scenery, something ended up needing that. But that always makes me shy about those wide receivers in practice. I heard a lot of good things about Justin Robinson, in practice there early on too. So ultimately, it's huge that he gets off to a good start. And unlike Matt Landers, this guy's put together about 900 yards over the past two seasons and scored 10 touchdowns.
Yes, and physically, Matt Landers was tall, but I mean, we put out that picture from Palmer last week on Kobe Young on social media, and that is a put together cat, as you would say.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me if there's a little man and they're driving him around like a machine. I mean, he's that big. He's a big dude, but he was clearly limited today when we saw him in practice. He made a real nice juggling catch here near the sideline. Ra Thomas was back out there today, which is a very good sign. Ra coming off of a broken foot there prior to the SEC championship game. Georgia had its full allotment receiver, and Rusty, a guy we've talked about over and over and over again. Arian Smith. Arian Smith, man, he locked, and we all know Arian Smith can run. And we all know that Arian Smith can make a big play here and there. Man, Arian Smith locked on to Daniel Harris, and Daniel Harris is a bigger dude than he is.
Girl, man.
And, man, he locked on to him, and he bullied him. He kind of threw him around a little bit. And I'm like, man, who is this?
Grown man.
This?
Grown man.
I mean, he did it, Rusty, on a play that is designed, honestly, for the defense to get the better of it because they know the ball is coming to them. Throw a little swing pass out there. You've got 3-on-3. You got the back, and you got a corner. You got a tight end, and you got the corner the corner's getting blocked by the receiver. The tight end's getting a linebacker's getting blocked by the tight end, and then you're trying to get the safety to fill the alley and figure out where their ball carrier is going to be. Thud him up. You got other two guys trying to beat blocks. They know where that football is going. And Arian Smith, man, Tyler Williams did the same thing on the other side of the field too. And I don't know who it was against. I don't want to throw any names out there. But man, I tell you what, James Coley was fired up about it too.
Well, you're not going to play at Georgia if you don't block. If you're a receiver in college and you have aspirations of going to Sunday League, you're not going to play in college, and you're not going to play in Sunday League if you can't block on the perimeter. That's just the way it is. And in Georgia, you damn sure are going to block on the perimeter if you're going to play.
How many of them NFL films things do you ever watch about great receivers and you ever hear, hey, he wouldn't block you, but man, he could make some plays.
Yeah,
you never hear that. You never hear it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's such a pass league to us, but in Georgia, in this physical league, man, you're going to block on the perimeter or you're not going to play. You're going to pass pro as a running back or you're not going to play. And that's just the way it is. And I've watched there's a lot of YouTubes that Georgia runs that drill that they call that 3-on-3 in that game. And I've seen them do it 3-on-2. You can find those things where Dan Lanning and Glenn Schumann and those guys have done some clinics. There's some YouTubes and some of the drills they do where the guy's on his back, he has to get up, fight through a block, make a tackle. So they do a lot of that stuff. Perimeter game, blocking and tackling. And that's what, not to hijack this. Let's just get off this one real quick after this, but that's where Tyke Smith and Javon Bullard made Georgia. I mean, those dudes, they can get off blocks and they get your ass to the ground. And that's the thing that makes those guys invaluable. But Tyke Smith was a great
job last year.
Dalen Everett, it's one of those things in space, man. It's everybody has a job. Like there's a contain guy. Nobody gets outside the sideline for you. There's a cutback guy, and then like you just said, there's a one-on-one guy. That safety that's filling the hole is the unblocked guy. Can you get the guy to the ground? And if one of those wide receivers mauls the outside contain guy, all that dude is basically bubble, go wide, and it's up the field for a huge chunk play, if not a touchdown. So some of those things are, that's so much. That's a lot of what they're working in the spring, man. Physicality of those guys on the edge, because they don't do so much of that in the season, but that physicality stuff, you see it, man.
Kirby called it the millennial Oklahoma drill one time.
Yeah,
I remember he called it that in a coach's clinic video. He called it the millennial.
Yeah, that's true.
And
no more bull in the ring. You can't do that.
Right. Oh,
you can't do Oklahoma. You can't do Oklahoma anymore, can you?
I don't think so.
I don't think you can.
Man, bully in the ring just ruined some collarbones back in the day. I mean, just ruined them.
Ooh.
But but to your point before we move off of it, if you can't give your offense a chance to get those easy, quick now passes, you can't split out their receiver. If you can't beat that block out there, you can't play corner because they'll just listen. You don't think a Lane Kiffin, if he gets the idea that you can't beat a block out there and he's not going to raise it up and throw it to one of his dudes out there every single time over and over and over again until you put somebody in there that can stop it or your guy decides to make it happen. I wanted to point this out real quick. PenceFit FX. I feel you guys have been a little months in this comparing Landers. That was for comic relief, buddy.
He's on you.
We were messing around.
He's on you.
That's Rusty's fault. Rusty got us into that one.
Kobe Young's off to a great start.
He is. Trevor Etienne is too. Trevor Etienne's off to a really good start too, and that's both are big news for Georgia.
And these aren't freshmen. That's exactly right. These aren't freshmen. So that's where we have a little more confidence. We don't try to get into overhyping stuff, but we've heard from multiple people about some things. And I'll make a note on another player late tonight or first thing in the morning that I've heard actually too is it's really starting to come on. So that's going to be good news for Georgia.
I tell you, Rusty, getting back to kind of what you want to get here in week 2, bodies are hurting right now. You know, after that first padded practice on Saturday, folks are.
There were pads today, right?
Yeah, but right. But you know, today was that first kind of push through practice. Even though you're not going back to back days, they had 2 days off, but there's some soreness there. There's some guys banged up. You know, you got a hand, you got an elbow. Something got popped in that scrimmage the other day for a lot of these guys, and you know, this is time where you kind of see where guys start pushing through some stuff, and some guys start to get a little bit tired if you're young like that. But I tell you what, Kirby brought up something today, man. Makes me feel even better. I've always liked this offensive line class. Like I always liked this class that Georgia signed on the offensive line. But Rusty, man, he talked about how Nair Daniels has probably lost the most weight of that bunch, down from 390 pounds. I mean, I would be surprised if he weighed more than 350, 355 right now, which, you know, 40 pounds in 2.5 months.
That's amazing.
We've talked about Daniel Calhoun. He said Marquise Easley, Michael Looney, has also done a good job. I mean, I can't recall a bigger group kind of coming in and buying in that quick and getting it fixed that quick. You know, I mean, to me, we'll see how talented they are down the road, but it really seems like Georgia recruited the right kind of dudes there at the very least.
I think they're at the point now, and it's never perfect because it's not. But evaluation, I think Georgia is doing such a good job on the evaluations of O-line. And I will say, too, the off the field with Scott Sinclair and his strength staff, they're doing a good job of knowing what it takes to get weight off these big guys. It's not just running the piss out of them every day at 6 o'clock. You can't do that. You know what I mean? You can't just run them to death. It's nutrition. It's eating right, teaching them habits, how to do this, how to do that. And then what you just mentioned, Jake, is the buy-in. The kid's got to buy in. He can't sit at home. You don't know what he's going to do at home. You know what I mean? He's going to shove down a bag of chips before he goes to bed at night. And obviously these kids have bought in nutrition-wise, but you look at the guys and how big we made all the notes, we made all the graphics and everything. The run that Stacy Searles and Georgia went on last July to get those 5 or 6 linemen committed and those big dudes, we're thinking, man, how do they get these guys? And then the first thing you start thinking about is they got to lose weight. And you think, well, they're a year away minimum from doing anything. Well, you lose 45, 50 pounds in 3 months. You put yourself in potential, get some reps, you know what I mean, and rotation, and you start getting second team reps, those types of things. So you like to hear that. You like to hear the buy-in from those young kids, but I think mentality-wise, Jake, when you come to Georgia, you better have your damn switch turned on the day you walk in, or you'll get eaten alive. You won't make it. And, you know, there's 4 or 5 guys that were in that room a couple of years ago that are no longer there, and they got swallowed up and recruited over real quick and those types of things. I'm not calling anybody out. That's just reality. And when you come to Georgia as an offensive lineman, you better be ready to go. And you better have your mind right if you want to get on the field, because that room is stacked. A lot of bodies in there and a lot of damn 1 percentile humans, man.
Yeah, and there's another thing I want to point out too, and I want to touch on this before we move on to recruiting. Kirby had something really interesting for me to say. They got the coaches clinic coming in town later this week. And pretty much always the second week of spring. It's a very big coaches clinic. He's bringing in Jamie Chadwell and bringing
Liberty.
in and Willie Fritz.
Mhm.
And I thought those were interesting choices. And on the the Georgia centric kind of covering Georgia, you're sitting there thinking, well, what are they, are bringing in Jamie Chadwell to spend some time with the staff for what reason? Kind of what are you bringing there? Willie Fritz has his own kind of unique style as well. What's going on here? And I never really thought about it for that. Even as somebody who's coached high school football, I never really thought about it from this standpoint, but Kirby made a really good point today. And to me, I was impressed a little bit by it because it's walking the walk, because Kirby's talked about the health of the game and what you can do to make the game healthy and those things. He talked about how they brought those guys in because what they do kind of appeals more to the high school game. And they brought him in to kind of serve the high school coaches in the Georgia footprint, not just in the state, but within that kind of 5-6 hour radius. I don't know, man. That maybe I'm just the idiot. I know I'm just an idiot, but I never thought about it from that aspect of bringing in. I always thought you bring in these coaches from the coaches clinic, steal a few ideas from them to talk shop, and I'm sure they'll do some of that.
Oh, all day Friday.
But these two coaches didn't make as much sense as coaches have in the past. But when Kirby said what he said, I'm kind of like, dang, that's a service right there. That's a service to your high school coaches.
Yeah, and I've obviously know a ton of high school coaches, and they look forward to this every year, man. And I had a coach call me today about his staff, and he said, he goes, man, we booked this in January, and we're having to stay in Commerce. There's no rooms left in Athens this weekend because it's a parents, like I think 3 sorority fraternity parents weekend. Then you get 1,000 coaches, and you're trying to put those guys somewhere. So he was like, man, we're going to have to book this thing as quick as we can next year. So I never thought about that, but that tells you how big it is. They will come in on Thursday. They'll have a little bit of talk with the Georgia staff. They'll sit in on pre-practice meetings. Then they'll go to practice Thursday night. They do some what they call chalk talk. And then all day Friday, they have free reign. Coach Chadwell will speak, I think, in the morning. Then Coach Fritz will speak around lunch. Then they go to meetings. They go to every meeting, whatever you want to go to. If you want to go to Glenn Schumann's linebacker meeting, you can sit in there with that. And they'll do it in the indoor if it's too many people. So they'll have all those guys in there. And then what's really cool is they do a little walkthrough. They have a little, just a easy walkthrough gathering, I guess, practice, what they would call on Friday. Nothing really. The players are out there just kind of walking through some stuff like you will on a pregame on a Friday. And then Friday night, they do a huge reception for the high school coaches. And, man, it's great because you got coaches from South Carolina, from Texas, all over the country, and they get to sit around and just kind of talk ball with high school coaches. And they get up Saturday morning and they get to go to practice again and they go home. So if you think about the value of that, to be able to spend that much time around Georgia in a closed, this is not easy to get access to that program, but you basically get 3 days of access. And that's why coaches fill this thing up. And that's why I'll be honest with you. I bet it's the largest in the country. I bet it's the largest in the country now that Coach Saban is gone. I know he had a big one for a long time, but I guarantee you this is the largest high school coaching clinic in America on a campus.
Absolutely. And I'm just impressed by, the commitment to making it worth the coaches, because I've been to some, I went to Georgia Tech's coaching clinic back in the day. I thought they did a fantastic job. I went to others that I was kind of like, what the hell did we spend our money on here? Other than having a chance to drink a few beers with some other high school coaches after it's over with, what are we doing? Just that kind of rung out to me, and kind of Kirby walking the walk there as far as the health of the game. All right, new partner. Not so new now. 3 weeks in, myperfectfranchise.net. That's myperfectfranchise.net. Listen, we love what we're hearing here. Are you a displaced corporate executive, or are you wanting to put your career in a new area? Are you looking to kind of put it in your own hands? Are you looking to kind of branch out and do something different? Are you an experienced entrepreneur? Have you done something before, but you're looking to kind of do something maybe different, or you've picked up on something else, well, Andy Ludicky at myperfectfranchise.net can help. Andy's a huge college sports fan, a franchise veteran. He's owned multiple franchises and businesses. Using his expertise, he helps people find their American dream through a very thorough consultation and evaluation process. Call Andy, put your life and career in your own hands, take control of it, and best of all, his services are 100% free to you. So what do you got to lose? Find your perfect franchise at myperfectfranchise.net. And we appreciate Andy for being a partner of ours and going to be a partner with us for a long time. We're looking forward to kind of hearing some success stories on this and folks kind of reaching out. Dawgs always recruiting, Rusty. And before we get really started on this, there was a question our man Josh Ivy asked us a little bit earlier, and I want to kind of get to this.
Mm-hmm.
He was asking about Juju Lewis.
Oh yeah, saw that.
Couple
things on Juju. I've known Juju and his family since 8th grade. Know his dad really well, and just he's committed to USC. He's taking all these visits and doing. And we said this on here, I guess 2 weeks ago. He had a round of unofficial visits, and then he had a round. And then I said, I think he's going to take officials. And guess what he's doing now? He's going to take officials. From playing early is important to him, but it's not going to stop him from choosing a school if they have a guy, I would say, for a year. You know what I mean? So playing early is going to be important, and that's their prerogative. But it's not make or break from the conversations I have had. Going to learn, going to adjust, those types of things. He's a reclass, so he's going to be a little bit younger, mature-wise when he gets into school than some of the other kids. So I don't think that he would go somewhere and there's a freshman quarterback or a redshirt freshman quarterback. I don't think that would happen, to be honest with you. But I think he understands he has to go and compete. The conversations I've had over the last year or so is what pieces are around him, what pieces, are with him, and those types of things. So that one's going to go into the summer for a final decision. I know he's verbally committed to USC. He's been there for a while. I'm not saying he's not going to end up at USC, but the writing's on the wall. He's taken a lot of visits. Okay. So that tells you he's doing all his due diligence with his family. And I have said on here, he is not the only major target. I do think that Zollers out of Philadelphia is a major target. I think he just got beat in the Final Four, maybe Saturday night in basketball, or he's going to the state championship. I apologize if I got that wrong. I know he had a hell of a game. Charles Power sent me some clips. This dude was filling it up from 3-point. I'm talking coming off screen, shooting jumpers. Extremely athletic 6'3" kid out of Philadelphia. And I would be willing to say just right now, my opinion, and I've made this on DawgsHQ, I don't think it gets past those two. That doesn't mean there's only two guys they're recruiting, because they're not. They had Ryan Montgomery on campus this weekend, about the third or fourth time. He's going to take an official in late June. It's not just those two, but I think when it's said and done, one of those two, in my opinion, are going to end up in this class. And I think either one of them know that they're going to have to probably they're going to have to battle somebody, but they may have to wait a year as well. So Carson Beck is a great recruitment story for Georgia. I mean, the guy waited his turn, and look what happened. Now, everybody's cut out like that, but it's also proven, if he has a great year, he's going to be extremely high draft pick. And he sat around and waited for 2.5 years. You know what I mean? So sometimes being patient pays off. And if the trajectory that Carson Beck is on right now, that's going to be a big deal for Georgia.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with everything you said there. And I'd also like to point out that that quarterback job is wide open for Georgia in 2025. It is absolutely wide open.
And I'm still confident they're going to bring a portal guy in.
Yeah.
If they get the right guy, because
they
just try to keep 4, and it's going to be a guy with experience. And if you come to Georgia, somebody's going to say, well, why would you even go to Georgia as a portal quarterback? Well, number one, you would go to Georgia because they're going to have a damn offensive line in front of you, and you're always going to have skilled players, and you're always going to play in big games under Kirby Smart. So if you say, all right, I'm going to sit a year while Carson Beck plays, and then I'm going to battle Gunnar Stockton, I'm going to battle Ryan Puglisi, and whoever they bring in 25 because I'm an older kid, and I'm going to battle for this job. So, it's one of those deals that Georgia, they tried to take one in January. Just don't beat around the bush. They thought they had one for a minute. Thought they had one for a short minute there. So Kirby Smart has just shown that he's going to have competition everywhere. I mean, he's going to have competition everywhere, and he's going to try to get some depth. Losing Brock Vandergrift to Kentucky, I think they're going to try to add somebody in May if they get something. I don't know. And listen, I have no idea. I have no earthly idea right now, but I'm pretty confident in two people that you and I both know, Jake. And that's Josh Pate and Hayes Fawcett. And after the Caden Proctor news broke about 30, 40 minutes ago that he's going back to Alabama, within about 5 or 10 minutes, Hayes Fawcett and Josh Pate both put out tweets that said, if you think it's wild now, you wait till that portal gets open. And if anybody knows some inside stuff behind the scenes, it would be those two. That doesn't mean it has anything to do with Georgia. Doesn't mean it has. I'm just saying that lets you know we went through some wild stuff in December, and we're probably about to go through 15 days, April 15th through May the 1st. You better buckle it up again because it's probably going to be some wide open stuff. Because if anybody would know behind the scenes, those guys probably hearing a lot of stuff.
No doubt about it. Rusty, before we let everybody go, what are you expecting this week as far as recruiting? I know some guys are on campus today. You got anything to tease, or maybe even on deck, or anybody you expect in town later this week?
Better set on some things. Georgia may have gotten some good news here recently. See when that comes out. But I will say this. Kid I mentioned this morning on DawgsHQ, and he caught my eye at the Under Armour camp back in February. Young man named Gabe Daniels out of Greater Atlanta Christian. Just happened to have played high school football and grew up with a guy that's training him, guy that coaches him at GAC, and he played long time NFL. And he called me about 6-8 weeks ago. Says, "Hey, I got a player. I got a kid." And last time he called me, he had Darius Slayton, and he had these guys. And he said, "Rusty, we got one." And I think he ran 10.9 100-meter last year. Well, he ran 10.64 Saturday. And again, the weather's not real warm yet. He ran 10.64 laser 100 meters. He was at Georgia today. That's another 2025 wide receiver in state that's kind of popping up on the scene. And Jake, you know this as well as I do. One thing that catches Georgia's mind is freaking speed. And you lay down a 10.64 in early March in Georgia. There's no telling what you can roll with in May. And when the weather warms up, you could push 10.4. And he said that's the goal. So I'm interested. That's not somebody they're going to offer right now, in my opinion, but that's somebody that you don't forget about right now because he is really bursting on. So he had a great Under Armour camp. I watched him that day at wide receiver. So there's another name, another guy. DGG podcast. One more thing for you out of Greensboro. I know Georgia offered you quarterback up there this past weekend of 2026. And Chad Simmons is he's kind of old school. You got to kind of earn his compliments a little bit, and he'll stand behind it. But when I told him that the quarterback was going to be from Grimsley was going to be at Georgia this weekend, first thing Chad said, he said, "Rusty, he is for real. Like he is for real, for real. Like this guy's potential 5-star. Like he is for real." And sure enough, Georgia offered him on Saturday. Jeremy Johnson had a story about him today. And, that's an interesting. Now he's a 2026, so we got a ways to go, but he's going to be easily a nationally recruit, and Georgia got in on him early, offered him early.
There's another guy going to be visited on Thursday, just confirmed to me a minute ago, Dante Fulton, out of Worth County. Listen, I like this kid a lot. Plays soccer, fast, football fast. I'm really interested to see where Georgia goes with him because he is kind of lightly recruited for the time being. I mean, you're looking at UCF, Georgia Southern, UAB. I love those South Georgia kids, and this is a guy that's kind of 6 feet, 6'1", 170 pounds. I like him a lot. I'm interested to see kind of where things go with Georgia, between Georgia and him, coming up whenever he visits on Thursday as well, because he's a guy I think they like at wideout. Told me that Kirby dropped in to see him personally.
How big is he? How big is he?
6 feet, 6'1", about 170 pounds.
Yeah. Yep. It's about time, man. I'm old. I remember Robert Toomer now. You want to start talking about Worth County back in the day. You're talking about at LSU running back. It's been a long time since anybody come out of Worth County. So that's
I was trying to think of that the other day. Like I was
Robert
trying to
Toomer. Robert Toomer. He was
that has been a while.
Been a while. So I will give you one quick note. David Sanders, who many consider top 5 player in the country, was at Georgia this past weekend, and he's a guy that has been to Georgia so many times. Georgia is heavily in this thing, and reached out to his coach today. And the one question on him, he was 255 through the season and all that kind of stuff, and people kind of like, wait a minute, is this kid gonna get there? And I think he was 278 this weekend at Georgia. That is he's up 20 pounds. That he is on. He's rolling now. He'll be 300 and one Bojangles biscuit in about a month. He'll be 300. So good news for him, 5-star. He's going to be heavily watched as the spring and summer goes on. And I believe he's confirmed for our Nashville NIL event. So we'll get a chance to meet with him before he starts his OVs in June, right before, kind of get a pulse on him and interview him and spend a couple of days with he and his family in Nashville. So look forward to that.
100%. All right, folks, we'll be back with you on Thursday morning, bright and early. Get your coffee ready, make some plans.
Tomahawk said I'm 170. I'm definitely not 170.
Yeah,
I might be 6'1", but you better add some comments.
I'll never see 170 again.
If I see 170 again, y'all gonna be receiving friends from me. I can assure you that.
Yeah, we'll call hospice on you if you start getting down to 170. All right, y'all take it easy. We'll be back with you on Thursday, bright and early. Get your coffee ready, and we'll talk some ball then. But y'all take care until.